Morning, fellow zombies. Shout out to a gentleman who I've been kind of fond of in his conquest of knowledge and everything else that matters to him. A gentleman named Jim Ho. I found him several years ago on Facebook when I was coming across a few things, and he has a thirst for things. He's a seeker, explorer, a scout of many crafts, and out of sharing knowledge with people, despite of his existence, that he shares with even misery and humility and humbleness. He walks through his own and walks with his own environment. And he's dealt with a hell of a lot of challenges. But in his own journey, he's bringing us with him. That challenges us a great deal, including knowledge base and how to challenge ignorance, our arrogance, and to show us our humanity in our face by his own windows and mirrors. There is a gentleman out there also I came across. And this guy is supposed to be an author, brings up a meme that kind of disrupts me a little bit here. Since when do we treat grieving as an industry and death as a byproduct? Sometimes I come across the sponsorships on Facebook, and it drives me crazy sometimes. Uh, the algorithms are still trying to pick up things left and right that I still connect up with, trying to seek more and more further connections and me solidifying its hold on me. But sometimes I have to fight back on that one. But some urges I just don't. I have never I have never treated grieving and mourning as byproducts or of an industry. I have never treated death as an industry that life can actually take advantage of. Grieving is a byproduct. Mourning is a byproduct of throwing oneself into another person's life and vice versa. When you get that connection severed permanently in this particular mortal realm, in this mortal coil. But you ask, since I've been so much deep in this video, who am I? I am the Weaver John C. of Roseman, California, the diary of a griever named John Weaver, which is me. It is 9:50 in the morning, West Coast time. It is March 21st, 2024, for a Thursday. And yes, I am triggered. I am triggered today. I am triggered in ignorance and arrogance. I am triggered by people's ignorance and arrogance, but also in their thirst for knowledge and wisdom so that we all may share. Unfortunately, people are so convoluted and contrite that they fail to see what's in front of them or what's around them, and they're just blind and ignorant to everything and anything. And there's educators out there of sorts, even without the academic credentials that keep teaching us who and what we are. You ever heard of a guy named a Forest Man? Hardly anybody else has, but my my explorer of a friend, this eagle, has been digging into humanity more and more that other people haven't shared into his knowledge, and I wish they had. Because he's more knowledgeable than I am, and he's more wise than I am. Even for the journeys that he goes through, that he lets us share through. And one particular gentleman he did let me be educated on is a gentleman named a Forest Man. Now, some people will look at it as part of the Colonial Penn Life Insurance. If they happen to do a Google search, that's what they'll probably see. But for me, I had to dig deeper into the quote that he threw out. And his particular quote was the one that started me on a journey that I wanted to share and explore on, because this was a gentleman I didn't even understand who the hell he was. Didn't even come across who this character of a man was and is. If I could just get back into the quotes, because this was important for me. If I had to capture a screen print of this thing, I needed it. Be ashamed to die until you have won some victory for humanity. I looked at that, I'm thinking to myself, what the... Okay, so I had to throw that into Google, and I came across with this gentleman named of Horace Mann. Oh my God, who is this Horace Mann? Until I saw an artist impression of him. And I'm thinking, oh great, this is 17th or 18th century. So it had to be 18th century during those days. And I had to do a background check on this gentleman. Now, the name of Horace Mann, I'm going to get in here. He's considered an American educator. He was born in 1796, Franklin, Massachusetts. Died August 2nd, 1859, in Yellow Springs, Ohio. And from what Britannica.com has mentioned him as, he's the first great American advocate of public education who believed that in a democratic society, education should be free and universal, non-sectarian, democratic in nature, and reliant on well-trained professional teachers. He was the one who helped setting up a school for our public education system to thrive upon, or struggle through in the first place. According to Britannica, he grew up in an environment ruled by poverty, hardship, and self-denial. He was taught briefly and erratically by comparatively poor teachers, but he managed to educate himself in the Franklin Town Library, and with tutoring in Latin and Greek from Samuel Barrett, later a heading Unitarian ministry. He gained admission at the age of 20 to the sophomore class of Brown University, located in Providence, Rhode Island at the time. He did brilliant work at Brown, manifesting great interest in problems of politics, education, and social welfare. His valedictorian address on the graduation advancement of the human race in dignity and happiness was a model of humanitarian optimism, offering a way in which education, philanthropy, and republicanism could combine to allay the wants and shortcomings that beset mankind. There's a lot more to his career in Britannica. Someone that I didn't even know who the hell he was. I never even heard of this guy. But reading some of the quotes that he made, he was definitely a man who wanted to create an atmosphere of learning and creativity. He wanted to inspire people. He wanted the ignorance to be allayed and thirst for knowledge increased. He wanted school teachers to instill this upon others so they can be artisans, creators, sculptors, engineers, whatever they feel the need for. But they needed training, they needed education, they needed the tools and skills necessary to achieve their goals. He was the one who wanted the public education to be better than it is back then. And if you happen to see it now, he'd be dismayed at our public education because we're screwing it left and right. In Inglewood, California, they have been struggling, I guess, for the past few years. of not keeping up with their schools or their students or teachers. They had shut down a few classes because of COVID. Actually, they had shut down a few schools because of COVID because not enough funding going into the place. And now they were going to be shutting down 5 more, which inflamed and infuriated the students and teachers and parents because the bureaucracy screwed up one way or another. But they're also claiming, the school board was claiming that they didn't have the numbers, which would translate it into dollars coming in. The thing is, when you're dealing with a public education system, it all depends upon how much attraction and um, how much can he keep the students in. Meaning, what I'm trying to put it into words here is how much inspiration can the teachers can throw at the students to stay in their desks at their seats, soak up the knowledge necessary. Because the longer they can keep this up, the more money they get from the state, and the more money they get from the state, the better their system and the better their district will be. Unfortunately, when students get, for whatever reasons, disenchanted with the educational system, the school loses money. The system loses money. Or maybe there's some pilfering in there somewhere. I don't know. But the district dies. And they have to sacrifice to keep the district going, to keep the bureaucracy going, to keep the administration going, and hopes that they'll keep the schools running. So basically, we've got school districts dying out there when they get sacked teachers and they get sacked schools shutting down left and right. If Horace Mann was alive, he'd be pissed off at it. He'd be upset. He would be upset at our own mistakes and our own bad choices that we made, both as a student and as an instructor, an administrator, as a parent. And if they're not working with each other, chances for our students, even future students, dies off. This district is shutting down on elementary schools to junior highs to senior highs. How does that work? If there is an influx of a mass out there, theoretically, in your district, why are they not going to school? For what reason are they despondent with it? Was it the teachers? Was it the instructors? Was it lack of teachers and instructors? Was it lack of administrators that cared? Was it the parents? What was going on with the student? There's always connections in this stuff here. I am a product of public education. I graduated out of John F. Kennedy High School in Granada Hills, California, the class of 1985. I should have graduated in 84, but I made a choice, I made a decision that screwed up part of my education and my life a little bit. I made a choice that an instructor was not worth my time. So I screwed up one semester. I failed at everything in that semester. I downgraded my standing to basically piss poor, where I had to remake the entire 11th grade. They weren't going to kick me out. I was on campus. I attended the other courses, but I didn't attend this course. You know what it was? It was German. Back in 10th grade, I was a guy just getting his feet wet in high school. I chose to stay in a program, a college prep program in there, to get myself up to speed when it comes down for college work. But also, it was lax, it was cool, I was talked into it by a friend of mine. And I still had to do the work. The problem is I didn't have the commitment necessary to do the work entirely as I should have been. I was a slacker. My mother wanted me under strict education, 5 days a week, not just 2 or 3 times a day a week. That wasn't good for her. But it wasn't good for me either. Sometimes Mama does know best. We didn't listen to Mama. But in a way, I still retained that skill set in there considered by college because it did help a little bit trying to get through college right after I got out of high school. So I was able to navigate my way through college. But in that structure that I was in for high school, I should have kept up with the mentality of constantly going every single day to classes to maintain a structure, a discipline, a discipline. One thing he was trying to make sure of us, besides getting the education and the knowledge poured into our heads and our skulls, is discipline. And it's important. A structured daily discipline to keep us going, to keep us educated. A constant drumbeat. Some people never liked that one because they wanted the freedom to study. But they have to have a thirst for it. They have to have a knowledge for it. They have to have a feeling for it. To be under a constant under it. And unfortunately, it wasn't all that easy. It wasn't all that easy. Because how do we keep a constant beat? How do we keep a constant rhythm? How do we keep it constant there for us, the student, to feel this thing, to be part of this thing? We have to have the internal discipline in ourselves to do this. We have to have the motivation to drive the goddess. We need to have the courage. Others are just going through the system because that's how it is. The rote, the constant repeating of the stuff. Like, we don't need the stamp stuff. Wait until they get outside the pearly gates of the educational system. Because the skill sets out there depend upon what we learn in our own schools. And if we don't learn it, we can't survive out there. I kid you not. From kindergarten all the way to senior high, we need the skill sets in there. We need the discipline. We need the drive. We need to know what makes us tick and tick, what we want to accomplish. And we need to get the bare basic minimums because if we still want to continue on with the educational structure of it, fine, there it is out there in college. But they need the stuff we get from high school. Actually, when we get from public education. We can't get it from public education. We're screwed. Some people say that private education is worthwhile. They say charter schools are worthwhile. Not really. Not when you get an overabundance of people still competing for that. Then where do they go? Public education is still a problem as well because you take the money from public education, you shut down opportunities for everybody else. Until, what do you got? Elitism for the charter? If you got the money, then you could do charter and that's about it. Oh no, you get school vouchers. School vouchers takes money out of the public education that the other kids could use to get themselves educated out there, to keep the schools open, to keep the teachers employed, to keep the bureaucracy going. But we need the public education out there. We need to have it solidified. So the constant battle between voucher programs and public education goes on. A select few are going to be better than the greater masses. I'll take the greater masses over the select few. Because elitism I don't like. Makes me a communist or socialist? No. Just makes me one of the public masses. And I'd rather take the chances with the public masses. At least I know where I stand on that one. You educate them, get them motivated, get them driving. Get them to dream. Get them to be elitism among the commoners. Maybe they can lead the masses. Hopefully not over cliffs. But I didn't go to charter. I went to community. I went to public. Public supported. Public supported means taxpayer money coming out of your pocket to pay for a kid's education. That hopefully one day may save your ass or your life one of these here days. But yes, we do have trades in there. We should have more trade schools in public education. Problem is, taking it out because they think it's superfluous. It's extra. It's not the basic meat and potatoes that they call it. Reading, writing, they call it arithmetic. Basically, arithmetic is started with an AR, not just R. Reading, writing, math, history, science. We also need engineering skills. Besides having physical education, We need to have education for our minds to be drilled constantly, to be thinking up things or be encouraged to think up things. I'm grateful for the schools I got in, the public educated places. I got on a busing program when I was getting out of sixth grade and entering into seventh grade. Call it a miracle. Call it shifting of bureaucracies. I don't know. I don't care. I got on a bus. I went over to a different junior high away from an area that I didn't like. And it wasn't a magnet school. It was a regular junior high, but there was a busing program going on. Different kids get picked up by different points and get to be transported. And then when I got damn near close enough for it, I mean, I could have gotten to another junior high and kept up with it. I could have. But I made a connection with a junior high and I still wanted to stick with it. And I convinced my mother about that one. So, I was out of the territory, but I went over there anyway. Got on a public bus, walked a quarter of a mile to get over to the school, up and back, till I graduated. And then there was a high school right around the corner, almost literally from my home. Nothing could be simpler. I struggled 4 years over there. Said before, the 1 year I didn't like. And in seventh grade, actually in 10th grade, I took a foreign language class because that was a prerequisite when you're going into the school system. You had to take a foreign language unless you already knew something, and then take another one. Or take the same class and educate everybody else for that one. But I didn't know any other language, so I decided, what the hell, German. Everyone else is taking and being boring with Spanish. I should have taken Spanish. But I took German. That was a mistake. But I kept up with it anyway. The first semester was hard enough anyway. I dealt with at the time, they called him a West Berliner. At the time we had the Cold War going on, and they almost became part of Germany, Berlin. But it was still part of East Germany, but they were split between West and East. Cold War, and it's called history. Look it up. A guy named Mr. Lingens. He was there for several years. I liked him. He taught basic German for people who didn't understand it, and he was patient. But he taught colloquialism. I wasn't a good student. I wasn't perfect, but I struggled and I dealt with it, and I got out of the class with a C. Then I took another class trying to deal with the reading of German. I got a C out of that one too. Foreign languages. Maybe I should have been doing better in Latin, but I don't know. And then there was Barkowski, one of the teachers that nobody else liked in the school because he was a hard ass. Hard ass when it came down for mathematics, which he excelled at, and then foreign language, which he also excelled at. But I didn't like him. There was a chemistry between me and him. I don't know, something about him and a reputation was scaring the crap out of me, and I didn't like him in the first place when I got into his class. Formal, German, and he was almost a perfectionist. I didn't like him, really. So I skipped his class. I hadn't told Ma the main reasons why I didn't like this guy in the first place. I didn't like him. There was like a chemistry, or maybe there was a innate fear of this guy. Something about him didn't feel right about this guy. And he'd been there for years at the campus. Not many students liked this guy. But would they take the chance of skipping a grade because of him? I didn't realize I was going to skip a grade until I took his class. And then, next thing I know, I did things I shouldn't have been doing at school, and then hanging out at the library, reading and talking with my friends, but mostly talking with my friends in a small area. And then it happened. I had it out with Ma. Ma said, get out of the college program you're in. You no longer qualify for it. I don't want you to go in that program ever again. You hear me, young man? She was a tough disciplinarian when she had to be. Okay, back to the regular education I go. 5 days a week. Constant structure. And I did a little bit better because I concentrated on stuff a lot more. I did. At times I think I should have stuck with it instead of the college program. But the thing is, what I noticed about it, I was doing okay with the college program. I just wasn't mature enough to be dealing with it. Or maybe I wasn't ready for it. I don't know. But that's what it was. So, I don't knock against public education. It's depending upon the students. It's depending upon everybody to educate. There's an expression out there. It takes a community to raise a child, and they're not right. They're not wrong, and they're not right. It's a 50-50 split on that one. It's up to the student to learn. He's got to have the willingness and the desire. It's also up to the parents, and it's up to the community around him, and it's up to the school. Horace Mann did a hell of a lot for students like myself and more than I would ever give this guy credit for. There are some quotes out there on azquotes.com. You can type out the name Horace Mann on them. Horace Mann quotes. He's got a slew of them. And it matters a great deal. It matters a great deal. Because these little words that he said in his biography and the papers written about him, I'm surprised. I really am. That being said, I salute public education system. I salute Horace Mann. And to my friend Jim Ho, thank you.